Hello folks, today is the last video of our series 90 Days to Your First Deal Challenge. It was all about how to find, finance and close on your first rental property. If you want to watch all the videos, the playlist is called 90 Days to Your First Deal Challenge. And today's video is about closing day and what happens on this day. And also I will go over the ALTA statement. 3 days before closing, you should have received from your lender a closing disclosure. It is required by law and eliminates any unknown fees or charges at the closing table. So if you haven't received anything from your lender, make sure you contact them and get that disclosure. The next thing that happens is the walkthrough. And you can schedule this if you have an agent, buyer's agent, you can just schedule it with your buyer's agent and the seller. What you're looking for when you do your walkthrough is you want to make sure that if there were any repairs that were required in the contract to be completed by the seller, these repairs are completed. And also the other reason a walkthrough is done is to make sure that the property is pretty much in the same condition as it was when you made the offer. And sometimes when the sellers move out, there are some hidden defects that were under furniture, under rugs. So always when you do your walkthrough, it's best to do it on the same day of closing. The latest you should do it is probably the day before, and make sure the house is empty. The way closing can happen is either in person or by mail away. In person is usually when you go to your title company or real estate office and you get together with all the agents, the seller, and you all sign the documents. This is a better option if you have a lot of questions, if this is your first closing. The closing agents are usually very knowledgeable, or in some locations it could be your lawyer. So if you have a lot of questions, choose in person. My preference is mail away, even if I'm in town, because it's much faster. In-person closings can take 3 to 4 hours, and I've had even longer many years ago. Well, the mail away closing can happen in half an hour if you don't have many questions. So once you are more knowledgeable, that's a better choice, especially nowadays. So I want to go over the document. Next, I want to go over the document that you're going to be signing. That document is the settlement statement. Years ago was called the settlement statement. Then after that, it was called the HUT 1 statement. And currently, it is called ALTA statement. The ALTA statement is, there are a couple of different ALTA statements. One is combined. It shows the buyer's fees and charges and the seller fees and charges. There is ALTA statement for all cash closing. There is ALTA statements that show only the fees and charges that are on the buyer side, and there are ALTA statements that show the fees and charges on the seller side. So what I'm going to look at is the ALTA statements that is combined. And you'll see there are two sides, and one is buyer, one is seller, and they both have debits and credits. And the way to remember that is to think about debit is red. This is money that you owe. credits is green, it's money that's owed to you. And as I said, both sides have credit and debit. Credit and debit on the buyer side, credit and debit on the seller side. So let's look at the ALTA combined statement. So here is the ALTA combined statement. It was adopted 2015 to give a better understanding of actually better disclosure of what the seller credit and debits are and the buyer credit and debit. Remember, debit is red, what's owed by you, and credit is green, what you are owed. So, and in the middle is the description of the fees, charges. Financial is self-explanatory. It's the sales price, the deposits. Here you got some seller credits. Proration, the next one is proration adjustments. The seller owes taxes to the day of closing. The date of closing usually belongs to the buyer is responsible for anything from the date of closing to from the date of closing after. So the way the title company deals with that is, for example, in Florida, the taxes are paid in the same year in November. And let's say the closing happens in July. So the title company actually debits the seller from the to July. So they take the taxes for the whole year, divide them in 12, and however many months are to the day of closing in July, they prorate that and they take it from the seller and give it to the buyer. They debit the seller and they credit the buyer. And this is the same thing applies for school taxes, county taxes, and homeowners association dues. Next is loan charges. These are points application. Everything is generally paid by the buyer. Some cases though, if you had an agreement with the seller might be responsible for some of this. And here loan charges continues. This impounds is very important, and actually in Florida we call it escrow. Generally, the lender, when they make a loan, they want to make sure that you keep enough in separate and what they call it impound or escrow account in order for you to pay the homeowners insurance, mortgage insurance, and taxes. And they keep this in a separate account. As I said, it's called impound or escrow account, and from that account they pay the insurance, mortgage insurance, and taxes. This money belongs to you. So it's not taken from you, it belongs to the buyer. This is your money. They just use it to pay whatever needs to be paid. So this is not going to be taken from you. It's not going to be debit. It's your money as a buyer. And next is title charges and escrow settlement. This is the only thing I want to mention here, and I talked about in the previous video, offer to close, is the two types of title insurance. One is owner's title insurance and the other one is lender's title insurance. And what this is, the difference between the two title insurance is the owner's title insurance covers the whole purchase of the property, and the lender covers only the loan amount. And just to make sure, because sometimes people start shopping for title insurance. Pretty much, title insurance is very regulated, and it's the same. It doesn't matter which. I mean, I'm talking about Florida, so it doesn't matter which title company you buy it from. It's gonna be the same. Where you will see a difference is like these additional fees, like escrow settlement fees, notary fees, signing fees. So that's where the difference will be, and it's gonna be $100-$200. So it's not a big deal. And as I said in the previous video, whoever pays for the owner's title insurance gets to pick the settlement title company. So next is commission. If there was any commission, if there were brokers, that's where the commission is going to be listed. And of course, all the recording fees, any payoffs, if the seller had if the seller had mortgages, that's where the payoffs are. And these are the miscellaneous, all the other fees. And this is here it says like what's taken debit, what's taken from the seller, and what's given to the seller, and what's due to the seller. This is the total the seller is going to get, and what's owed from the buyer. And that's it. It's very simple. This is the Alta statement combined. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you found it helpful, and please subscribe if you want to continue watching helpful, practical videos on how to acquire and manage rental properties.